Most people mistake silence for emptiness. When the noise stops externally or internally, they feel something is missing. But silence is not a void. It is not a deficiency of sound. It is the presence of awareness in its most refined form. Just as darkness is not the absence of light, but the potential for infinite light, silence is not the absence of life. It is where life begins to be felt at its core. When you sit silently, not just physically, but mentally, you realize that everything becomes more alive, more real, more intimate. The chatter of the mind, the compulsive need to talk, to explain, to express endlessly, often serves as a veil. It shields us from experiencing the rawness of existence. We are afraid to face life without filters, so we fill it with noise. But if you dare to sit without filling the moment with distractions, you will begin to see silence not as empty space, but as a dimension of fullness, of presence that words can never touch. In that presence, you are not thinking about life. You are directly encountering it. In true silence, your senses come alive in a way they never can when you are speaking or thinking. You begin to hear sounds you never noticed. You start to feel the texture of the air, the pulse of your own being. It's not sensory deprivation. It's sensory amplification. Your mind is no longer narrating every experience, so the experience itself becomes pure, vivid, and whole. The silence deepens your receptivity to the moment, not through effort, but through surrender. Silence also holds a certain sacredness. It has an intelligence that doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It simply is. And in its stillness, it brings clarity that words often blur. In our obsession with talking, we believe that meaning comes from articulation, from grammar, from vocabulary. But there is a knowing that arises without language, a truth that dawns in the stillness without a single sentence being spoken. You do not learn this truth. You become it in silence. When you're truly silent, you are not retreating from life. You are meeting it without resistance. You are becoming available, not to people, opinions, or ideas, but to existence itself. You are not trying to control the moment, categorize it, or make it conform to your expectations. You are simply present, alert, alive, and open. And in that presence, you discover that silence is not absence. It is the most profound kind of presence there is. We live in a world obsessed with control. From the moment we wake up, we try to direct every detail of our day, our relationships, our careers, even our inner states. But life is not a machine you program. It is a living, breathing process. It does not need your constant intervention to move forward. Just as your heart beats without your command, and your breath flows without your awareness, the larger workings of existence are also happening with their own intelligence. When you stop interfering unnecessarily, life finds its own elegant rhythm. Look at nature. Nothing in the wild rushes, yet everything gets done. The sun rises and sets without a single alarm. The ocean does not strive to be vast, and yet it is. Seeds sprout, grow into trees, bear fruit and fall effortlessly. In the same way, when you allow space within yourself, your life begins to unfold with a certain grace. This does not mean you become passive. It means your actions arise from alignment with life, not from anxiety or compulsion. You become like a river, moving, but guided by something deeper than your surface will. Often, We believe that by forcing outcomes, we are achieving success. But force brings tension, and tension blinds us. It narrows our vision and creates resistance. What if instead you could hold your intent like a soft breeze, not tightly clutched, but gently present? When you stop grasping at life, life begins to give. You stop chasing, and things start arriving. Not always in the form you expected, but often in the form you needed. Your role is not to manipulate existence, but to cooperate with it, to listen, to align, to allow. The more you interfere, the more fragmented life becomes. You lose the flow, the spontaneity, the natural unfolding. It's like pulling at a bud to make it bloom faster. You only end up damaging the flower. But when you allow it time and space, it opens in perfect harmony with the sun and the soil. Your inner journey is no different. Your growth, your clarity, your peace, these do not come through constant pushing. They come when you step back just enough for your deeper self to rise. Life is not waiting for your commands. It is already in motion. There is a deeper current that knows where to take you if you just stop paddling upstream all the time. The more you surrender to this current, not in weakness, but in awareness, the more effortless life becomes. You begin to sense that you are not apart from life, but a part of its unfolding. You are not the sculptor, but the sculpture being carved by an intelligence far beyond thought. Stillness is not just a lack of movement. It is a state of profound attunement with the fundamental rhythm of existence. When you become still, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, you begin to hear the silent pulse of life. This rhythm is not random. It is intelligent, ordered, and deeply harmonious. You will not find this harmony through speed or ambition. It reveals itself only when the inner noise settles and your awareness becomes still, like a quiet lake reflecting the sky. In the vastness of the cosmos, everything operates in cycles and symmetry. The planets orbit, the moon waxes and wanes, your breath rises and falls, tides come and go, all without your effort. You are not separate from this grand design. Your body, your energy, your very consciousness are embedded in this larger geometry. But when you are restless and constantly distracted, you lose that alignment. You start acting against the flow. Stillness restores that connection, not through effort, but by simply stopping the unnecessary interference. When you are still, you become receptive. You are no longer pushing your personal agenda onto life. You are listening, feeling, sensing. In that listening, you begin to move not from compulsion, but from clarity. The decisions you make, the words you speak, the steps you take, these no longer come from insecurity or restlessness. They arise from a place of alignment where your individual rhythm matches the universal beat. It is this synchronicity that brings a sense of grace to your actions, making them powerful yet effortless. This alignment is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. It is always there, like the background hum of a well-tuned instrument. Stillness simply helps you become aware of it. When you are constantly busy, you may accomplish many things, but they often leave you feeling disconnected or exhausted. When you act from stillness, even a simple gesture carries depth. It carries presence. It carries life. And in that state, you are not trying to manage time. You are flowing with it. The moment you align with this rhythm, time bends, stress drops, and a strange sense of ease begins to guide you. You are no longer living in resistance to what is. You are no longer out of step with reality. You become like a dancer who no longer counts the beat, but feels it, becoming one with the music. This is the rhythm of the cosmos. Not mechanical, not forced, but organic, fluid, and intelligent. Stillness doesn't disconnect you from life. It integrates you fully into its most sacred and silent song. Whatever you are chasing in life, whether it's love, peace, success, or freedom, is not something far away. It is already present within you in potential form. But most people are so busy reaching outward, they forget to look inward. When you become silent and still, you begin to see that you are not lacking anything. What you long for is not a destination. It is a reflection of your inner state. If you feel incomplete, you chase completeness. If you feel restless, you run after peace. But once you shift your attention inward and settle into your being, these qualities begin to radiate from you effortlessly. Love is not something you must beg for. It is your nature when fear and ego are absent. When you stop demanding love from the world and simply become loving, the energy around you changes. People are drawn to you, not because you asked, but because they feel your presence. In the same way, if you are constantly craving success from a place of lack, you create anxiety and resistance. But when you become stable, focused, and joyful in your actions, success starts to flow toward you, not as something to conquer, but as a consequence of your inner harmony. This is the paradox of life. The more you chase, the more things run from you. But the more you become what you seek, the more life comes to meet you. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about settling into the truth of what you already are and allowing it to blossom. A peaceful person does not need to preach peace. They radiate it. A person who is deeply joyful does not need entertainment. They become the joy others seek. This radiation is not something loud or boastful. It is subtle yet powerful, like the fragrance of a flower that silently fills the space around it. This is why silence is so transformative. It allows you to stop chasing shadows and start nurturing your essence. Instead of running after validation, you cultivate self-awareness. Instead of trying to impress, you begin to express the truth of your being. From this grounded state, you realize that you are the source, not the seeker. You are the fire, not the moth. And when this realization settles in your system, your very presence becomes a source of nourishment, not just for you, but for those around you. When you operate from this centered radiance, your actions no longer come from neediness. They come from fullness. You begin to offer love without expecting return. You contribute without the hunger for reward. You speak not to impress, but to uplift. And in doing so, you naturally begin to attract the very things you once thought you had to fight for. Life starts flowing toward you, not because you forced it, but because you became aligned with it. You became the magnet, not the beggar. You radiated what you once thought was missing. When you are constantly talking, either with others or within your own head, your perception becomes clouded. You are not seeing what is, you're seeing what you think it is. Words, labels, judgments, they all create layers between you and reality. But when you become silent, not just with your mouth, but with your mind, those layers begin to dissolve. You no longer look at life through past opinions or future expectations. You begin to see with fresh eyes. And in that seeing, perception deepens. It no longer comes from memory. It comes from presence. Most people don't realize that what they call perception is just mental commentary. You walk into a room, and before you even look, you've judged the people, the environment, the energy. That judgment blocks real perception. It replaces seeing with assuming. But when you are silent, your senses open up. You notice the details, the tone in someone's voice, the texture in the air, the expression in someone's eyes that words can't capture. You begin to listen not just to what is said, but to what is unsaid. This is where real understanding begins. Silence makes you more sensitive, not in a fragile way, but in an aware way. You can walk into a space and feel what is happening without needing explanation. You can sit with someone and feel their emotional state without a word being spoken. This is not a mystical gift. It's a natural ability that noise has buried. In silence, that sensitivity returns. It's not about being psychic. It's about being profoundly present. When the inner noise quiets, life speaks more clearly. Through gestures, through stillness, through silence itself. You may think silence is the opposite of expression, but it is the foundation of true expression. When you operate from silence, your words carry weight. Your actions carry clarity. You're no longer guessing or reacting. You are responding with full awareness. Whether you're making a decision, speaking to a loved one, or creating something, silence becomes your guide. It tells you when to act and when to hold back. It sharpens your inner compass. This is not something you can be taught in a classroom. It has to arise from direct experience, an experience that begins in stillness. Even in meditation, people often chase visions or expect dramatic sensations. But the greatest gift of silence is not stimulation, it is subtlety. You start to notice the gaps between your thoughts, the pause between your breaths, the depth within your being. These are not dramatic realizations, but they are transformative. Because in those subtle spaces, your perception is no longer limited to the five senses. It expands. You begin to perceive life not just as something happening around you, but as something you are deeply woven into. Silence is not empty. It is full of knowing.